Hello friends, my name is Shayla and today I'm here to wrap up the second half of my reading month in March. So this wrap up will contain my rereadathon wrap up as well as the last week of March. If you want to see what I read in the month before that, I will go ahead and leave a link to the video from the first half of the month down below. And if I missed anything, I will catch it later. So let's go ahead and start off with the rereadathon reads. If you've watched my vlogs, you pretty much know how it went down. And I have a vlogs playlist, and those are the only things that are in it, so I will leave that linked down below as well for you guys to check out if you want to see more in-depth things than I will talk about here. So the first book that I read during rereadathon is Alice's Adventures in Wonderland by Lewis Carroll. I had not read this since I was a kid, and I don't think it sunk in when I was a kid, and so I decided to reread it. I ended up giving it 3 stars. I mean, it's a fair children's book, but it's got some disturbing crap in it. And it's dark, and it's fun, and I liked it for what it was, but it's just not my kind of middle grade read. All of my 4 challenge books are middle grade, so I had the direct comparisons next to it throughout the whole week, and it didn't change my mind on this. It's not a bad book, it's just not really my jam. I'm going to keep it on my shelf in case I have kids in the future that want to read it and want to discuss it, but in general, it's not my favorite, and there's a lot of political things even in this novel. Like, there's a lot going on. So if you want a more in-depth discussion about my thoughts on this book, let me know in the comments down below and I might film one. The second book that I read during rereadathon was Time Cap by Lloyd Alexander. I gave this a nostalgic 5 stars. I think for a middle grade it is fantastic. This is about Gareth the cat and his owner Jason. Instead of a cat being able to live 9 lives, they get to visit 9 different lives. Obviously Jason is one of Gareth's lives, so we visit 8 other lives that these two have an impact on, and Jason learns something important at each point. This book is great. I think if more kids read this, we would have better behaved kids. I hate to say that out loud, but that's really kind of a reality. I feel like this teaches basic decency in human beings and morals, and I think it's really important for kids to read. So go ahead and give this one a read if you haven't. I am planning on picking up some more Lloyd Alexander in the next little while because I forgot how much I really enjoyed his writing. So I plan on picking up some of his other ones. Like, I might pick up his Prettian books, the one that's got the Book of 3 and the Black Cauldron and stuff. It's like 5 books. That series. I might pick that up next. So if you have any thoughts, let me know down below. The third book that I read during rereadathon was Return to the Secret Garden by Holly Webb. I did end up giving this a slightly less nostalgic star rating on a second go around. The first time I read it, I gave it 4.5 stars, and I think I'm just going to drop it to a solid 4. I think the 4.5 was just more the nostalgic of seeing some of the old characters from The Secret Garden. This is a separate story, but it is connected to the original one, and I think just my nostalgia for that ended up bumping it up to 4.5, but I do think I'm going to leave it at a solid 4 for now. It's really fun, really well written. If you liked The Secret Garden and you want to know what happened to everybody when they grew up, it's a fantastic read. The fourth book that I read during rereadathon was Dragon Watch by Brendan Mull. We are supposed to be getting the next book in this Dragon Watch portion of the Fablehaven series later this year. So I really wanted to give this one a more thorough read, because the first time I read it, I kind of binged it, and I was so excited to be back in the world that I didn't really retain as much as I wanted to. So I ended up giving this a second read just to make sure that everything that happens in this story is fresh in my mind, so that when I pick up the second book, I'll be able to continue on. Technically, this is book 6 in the Fablehaven series, but the first in the Dragon Watch portion, the Dragon Watch arc of the Fablehaven series. So I really enjoyed it. 4.5 stars. Give it the Fablehaven series a read if you haven't. And again, all 4 of those were middle grade, so they're really quick, easy reads. And even when you're busy, middle grade's great, because it's not a difficult world to get into. All the writing is fairly simple, and they're just really a lot of fun. Next up, we have 2 graphic novels. So the first one that I ended up reading, all 4 of those fit the challenges for the particular readathon. I'll leave my readathon TBR down below just to explain all of this a little bit better. But then I had a couple of bonus books that I wanted to get to, so that's what these are. So the first one is White Sand by Volume 1 by Brandon Sanderson. And then I was reading this so that I could read White Sand Volume 2, which came out just recently. So I reread this one to read this one. So upon second read of White Sand, I ended up enjoying the story a lot better. I enjoyed the world a little bit better, but I do think Volume 2 greatly improves upon Volume 1. I feel like in this one, the world cracks open a little more. We understand it a little bit better. We understand the politics a little bit better. And one thing that happened in this, I talk about it in the vlog a little bit, the last chapter of Volume 2, the art style is drastically different than the rest of the graphic novels. So if you aren't a huge fan of the way the graphic novel looks the first go around, give it time, because in the change in the art style, everything smooths out a lot. And there's just a quick panel. I think it drastically improves the story, except for the magic. The magic is very visual in this particular world, and I really like how it looks in the more detailed art style, but it doesn't look bad in this smoothed out art style either. So again, that's just an aesthetic choice. I did try to ask Brandon on Twitter if he knew anything as to why just the last chapter was different in this one. I never got a response back. He's a busy guy. Plus, he's working on Skyward, so I'm totally okay with that. I think it was probably just either the detail got to be too much and they got a different artist to do a smoother art style. I'm not 100% sure why the change happened, but I'm not mad about the change. I just think it was a weird place to do it. So there's my 2 cents on these. Again, I would probably give each of them 4 stars. They're not Brandon's best, but I think you lose a lot of detail in just visually seeing it. He's very good at describing his worlds, and just to visually see it, you lose a little bit of that magic. So that's why I think these are more like 4 stars instead of 5 stars like a lot of his other books for me. And the last book that I read during Rereadathon was A Darker Shade of Magic by V.E. Schwab. I reread this one in preparation to finish off the series, which I have plans to in the month of April. Upon a second read, I actually enjoyed this one more. The first go around, I didn't really get into the story. I didn't get into the world, our characters. Like, I just kind of wasn't there for it. It was a fair enough fantasy book. I'm not going to change my star rating because there are some things towards the ends that are a bit spoilery that I'm not going to talk about here that I'm not 100% sure how I feel about. So again, I'm going to leave this at a 4-star rating. I did enjoy it better on a second read. I feel like I got a better understanding of our characters and the world, as I said, and I think I did catch things that I missed in the first read, and so I think I was able to better enjoy it for that reason as well. So after Rereadathon, I was kind of feeling that graphic novel format because I had read White Sands Volume 1 and 2, and I was like, I need me some like graphic novels or manga or something. So I proceeded to pick up and read volumes 3, 4, and 5 of Ancient Magus Bride. You guys know this is my current manga obsession. I am seriously loving this, like Chise and Elias forever. Like, this story is fantastic. This is very much a fae story in which in the beginning we meet Chise. Chise is a 15-year-old Japanese girl who is basically sold off at an auction. Her family just gives her up, and so she signs some documentation to be sold at an auction house because she is essentially, well, what they call her is a slay baggy. You find all this out in the first volume, so I'm not spoiling anything. Chise is basically like a magic battery for the fae. So, well, for mages and magicians, directly connected to the fae. So the person who purchases her is Elias, and Elias is a fae creature in and of himself. He has a like deer skull head. He's kind of interesting. But essentially he buys Chise to be his apprentice. So she's not chained up or anything. She very much roams her own. She's becoming her own human, her own person, while learning to control her abilities as a slay baggy so that she doesn't expend herself. Because typically what happens to slay baggies is they expend all their magic at once and they die because they just don't realize how much they're expending. So Anyways, this series is so good. Oh my gosh. Anyways, the bottom line is Elias purchases Chise to become his future bride. So he's not planning on marrying her as a child. Like, he wants her to grow up first. Like, he's not an animal. Well, even though he looks like one, he's not a brute. He's not weird. But he essentially purchases Chise hoping she will choose to become his bride later. It's always her choice. And I like that he leaves the choice up to her. Anyways, I like how they grow together and work as family for the time being, and it's wonderful. Seriously, go get it. Go pick it up. It is so good. You're not gonna be mad that you picked it up. I could sit here and gush about this series for so long. I've already been gushing about it probably longer than I should at this point. But guys, it's so good. I read the first 5 volumes this month. There's only 3 more out, and I have them on my shelf. I've already purchased them. And I need them in my life. So I can't wait till the next one comes out too. And I'm going to start watching, I've watched the first episode of the anime that's dubbed on Funimation. But yeah, I'm just super excited. Alrighty, the last step, I have 2 smutty romance novels. I'm kind of back in the smutty romance mood again. My friends over at Forever Romance decided to send me another book, and that is The Last King by Katie Robert. This is a story about Beckett King, who is a very successful man in the oil business in Texas. He was born with a silver spoon in his mouth, worked for his dad. Anyways, in the beginning of the book, his dad passes away mysteriously under mysterious circumstances, and his aunt works for a competing company because she was mad that Dad got the company and not her. So his main competition in his division happens to be this beautiful Indian woman named Samara, and obviously there are sparks. They are magnetized to each other essentially, and it's steamy and all of the good things. I do plan on filming a full review of this, so look forward to that coming soon. And then the last thing that I read in the month of March was Night Pleasures by Sherilyn Kenyon. This is book 1 in the Dark Hunter series. One of my friends on Instagram referred me to this series. As you guys know, I kind of binged the Lords of the Underworld series by Gina Showalter there for a while, and this is kind of fitting that bill right now. It's got the paranormal and the pitting people against each other, the danger factors up, and all the paranormal factors up, and the steamy factors up, and yes. Yes. This is definitely fitting that bill. I'm thoroughly enjoying it. I'm not quite finished at the time of filming of this video, but I should be done by the time this video is uploaded. I can tell you right now, it's like the Lords of the Underworld, it'll probably be a solid 4 for my smutty romance paranormal stuff I'm a total trash can for. I mean, it is not great literature, and I'm not going to tell you it is, but it is way fun to read, and I cannot get enough. So guys, that was what I read in the second half of the month of March. Let me know in the comments down below what you ended up reading, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye!